Good evening and welcome to the Day 4 Intro to Triangles notes, also called the Inequalities in Two Triangles or the Hinge Theorem notes. Please start by doing the warm-up, pause the video to do that, and then try the problems on your own. Hit play to begin again. Number 1 says to start by finding the shortest and longest side of the triangle. In order to do that, the first thing we have to do is look for the missing angle here. I know that all interior angles of a triangle add up to 180 degrees. So I'm going to say 41 plus 96 plus the measure of angle S equals 180 degrees. Combine my like terms, 137 plus the measure of angle X equals 180. Subtract 137 from each side to get the measure of angle S is 43 degrees. Now that I know the measure of each of my angles, the shortest side will be across from the smallest angle, and the longest side will be across from the largest angle. 96 is my largest angle, and across from that is side TS. 41 is my smallest angle, and across from that is side RS. Next, coming over to number 2, once again we have to find our missing angle. 58 plus 64 plus the measure of angle J is 180. Combine my like terms, 122 plus the measure of angle J is 180. Subtract 122 from either side to get the measure of angle J is 58 degrees. Now, 2 of my angles are the same, so that means 2 of my side lengths are the same, which means that there's a tie for shortest side between KH and KJ. Then my largest side is across from my largest angle, which means HJ must be my longest side. For number 3, it asks us to solve the inequality AB plus AC is greater than BC for X. In order to do this, the first thing I'm going to do is plug in 3x plus 1 into AB, 4x minus 2 into AC, and 5x plus 7 into BC to set up this inequality. Next, combine your like terms to get 7x minus 1 is greater than 5x plus 7. Subtract 5x from either side to get 2x minus 1 is greater than 7. Add 1 to get 2x is greater than 8. And divide by 2 to get x is greater than 4. If you have any questions, be sure to ask your teacher about this during class. Now on to the new material for tonight, the Hinge Theorem. In order to use the Hinge Theorem, you have to have 2 triangles, and if 2 sides of one triangle are congruent to 2 sides of another triangle, and the included angle of the first is larger than the included angle of the second, then the third side is longer than the third side of the second. So in other words, we've got 2 pairs of congruent sides here. Here's my included angle, or the angle in between those sides. This is larger, 88 is larger than 35, so the side across from it, XW, will be larger than the side across from this one, ST. So WX is larger than ST. The converse of the Hinge theorem, it works both ways. If 2 sides of one triangle are congruent to 2 sides of another triangle, and the third side of the first is longer than the third side of the second, then the included angle of the first is larger than the included angle of the second. We've got 2 pairs of congruent sides. My third side, 12, is larger than 9, so the angle across from it, angle C, is going to be larger than the angle across from 9, which is the measure of angle F. Now let's practice some examples. In example number 1, notice they told us that AD is congruent to BC, so there's 1 pair of congruent sides. And I can see here that both of these shapes, or both of these triangles, share side DB. So there's my second pair of congruent sides. 34 is larger than 33, and since that's the case, I know the angle across from 34 will be larger than the angle across from 33, or the measure of angle 1 will be larger than the measure of angle 2. Coming over to example number 2, they've given me that the measure of angle ADB is larger than the measure of angle CDB. Since this angle is larger than this one, I know the side across from it must also be larger. So AB must be larger than CB. once again, even though only one pair of congruent sides is marked, we can see that both of these triangles share this side here, and there's my second pair. For example number 3, complete the statement with less than, greater than, or equal to, and explain. First, we're looking at our two triangles. They've given me that each one has two pairs of congruent sides. I notice that 60 is larger than 59, which means that the side across from it, ST, must be greater than the side over here. Next, they give me that the measure of angle DEG and the measure of angle FEG. I'm trying to figure out which one is bigger. 15 is bigger than 14, which means that the angle across from 15 must be larger, and that means that angle DEG must be larger than the measure of angle FEG. Now it also says to explain. Make sure you don't forget that portion. Since the measure of angle R is greater than the measure of angle K, and since DG is greater than GA. Example number 4, using only the Hinge theorem or its converse, write and solve an inequality to describe a restriction on the value of x. So we notice 7 and 7, there's one pair of congruent sides, and here's a second pair of congruent sides, the triangle on top and the triangle on bottom shared. I notice that 5 is larger than 4, which means the angle across from 5 must be greater than the angle across from 4. For 3x minus 4 must be greater than 38. We want to solve for a restriction on the value of x. That means I want to get x by itself. I have to add 4 to either side. I get 3x is greater than 42. Then divide by 3 to get x is greater than 14. Now for our last one, example number 5. You and a friend are walking away from a tree in opposite directions. You both walk 20 yards, then change direction and walk 5 yards. You start due east, then turn 45 degrees toward north. Your friend starts due west, then turns 40 degrees towards south. Who is farther from the tree? I just want you all to begin by drawing a diagram like I have with this lovely tree. However, add some lines, draw some triangles, and we'll be sure to go over this one in class with you all tomorrow. Have a great evening.